On a brisk spring morning inside Windsor, a ripple of disbelief swept through the stateroom where King Charles III convened his most senior advisers. A single line in the day's order, barely more than a sentence, landed like a thunderclap. The king would withhold royal titles from Queen Camilla's 2 children while quietly endorsing new honors for Lady Louise and Viscount Severn, the teenage children of Prince Edward and Duchess Sophie. Within minutes pages were darting down corridors, chamberlains were whispering behind arras curtains, and Camilla's closest confidants were reading and rereading the words, as if a different meaning might materialize. That decision ignited every latent tension, in a court already dividing along generational fault lines. Kamila had long assumed her son and daughter, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopez, might one day receive courtesy dignities, if not full working royal status. Instead, she watched titles bypass her branch entirely and land, with unmistakable symbolism, on the shoulders of a shy, horse-mad university student named Lady Louise Windsor. Several factors converged. Princess Catherine's recent return to frontline duty, her first formal engagement since beginning chemotherapy, had reminded the public why she ranks among the monarchy's most bankable assets. In a crisp black coat dress at the National Portrait Gallery, she spoke about resilience, turning personal struggle into a rallying call. Courtiers saw an opening, pair that authenticity with Louise's quiet diligence, and, in one stroke, strengthen Catherine's future household, give Sophie's daughter a meaningful runway, and prove the crown's favorite refrain, modern, slimmed down, service first is more than a slogan. Yet progress for one wing meant eclipse for another. Kamila, who has spent decades rehabilitating her public image, viewed the redistribution of her own patronages, Royal Academy of Dance here, National Portrait Gallery there, as manageable until this moment. A new title for Louise was different. It was, in Camilla's reading, an unmistakable downgrading of her influence and a personal slight delivered by her husband at the urging of the Waleses and the Edinburghs. Whispers of an extraordinary clash inside Clarence's house spread fast. Kamila is said to have questioned Lady Louise's readiness, highlighting the 19-year-old's sparse public resume. Princess Anne, famously allergic to dithering, snapped back that she had ridden in the Olympics at 20 and opened Save the Children centers worldwide before 30. William sided with Anne, insisting the monarchy survives only if it prepares heirs 2 generations out, not 1. Catherine sat silent through much of the debate, but her allies noted the telltale signs of her influence, meticulous succession planning, focus on youth initiatives, and a willingness to absorb duties Kamila relinquished. In private, Charles wrestled with guilt. Friends report him pacing the palace's Brunswick Tower, remembering nights he agonized over titles for his own sons after Diana's death. Some thought his final ruling, no elevation for Tom and Laura, fresh honors for Louise and James, was shaped by that old remorse, a belated pledge that younger Windsors would never feel as untethered as William and Harry once did. The impact was immediate. Catherine and Sophie began drafting a new schedule placing Lady Louise at Catherine's side for arts and youth engagements throughout the summer, a literacy event at the British Library, an ecology project in Cornwall, a veterans' garden at Highgrove timed for remembrance. Louise, previously tucked behind her parents at balcony appearances, suddenly found a senior dresser laying out gowns suitable for investitures. Reaction outside the gates split along generational lines. Instagram lit up with approval, fresh faces, relatable royals, but traditionalists on morning radio fretted that elevating an untested teenager risked trivializing centuries of earned precedents. Newspapers resurrected Camilla's own slow climb, and wondered aloud if a queen consort could accept so public a rebuff without exacting some quiet price. Meanwhile, a subtler drama unfolded inside family apartments. King Charles, by temperament a conciliator, began limiting long evening discussions with Kamila to ceremonial logistics, leaving deeper strategy meetings to mornings with William and Catherine. Observers noticed the chill, a hand withdrawn too quickly during a garden party walkabout, Camilla's polite, but brittle smile when Lady Louise joined Catherine at a hospital opening in Birmingham. Tension would have simmered in private had Princess, and not detonated a truth grenade at a closed household division briefing. Asked whether recent changes showed disrespect to the Queen Consort, and reportedly replied, "Service outranks sentiment. If titles advance service, they go where they belong." The remark leaked within hours, pushing public curiosity into overdrive and forcing palace spokesmen to issue a carefully worded statement praising Her Majesty's decades of dedication, while stressing the King's right to shape the house for coming generations. Camilla's allies countered with reminders of her heavy charity portfolio, osteoporosis research, domestic abuse shelters, implying the Crown was sidelining experience in favor of youth optics. Yet the momentum held. By late July, the court circular listed Lady Louise as patron-in-waiting of two equine therapy nonprofits, a niche previously associated with Kamila. Even Sophie's initial reluctance melted under the weight of circumstance. Her instinct to protect Louise from tabloid glare collided with a daughter's own quiet ambition. In a decisive conversation, Louise told her mother that accepting duty honored both her late grandparents, Prince Philip for resilience, Queen Elizabeth for steady grace. Sophie relented, and suddenly the Edinburgh household pivoted from shield to springboard. None of this eased Camilla's frustration. She took solace in mentoring Catherine on private diplomacy, valuable, yes, but lacking the pomp of ribbon cuttings. Friends say she invited Catherine to Ray Mill for an overnight escape, hoping informal counsel might restore equilibrium. Catherine agreed, arrived with a small bunch of garden roses, listened intently to advice on pacing workloads, and next morning returned to London for a meeting with the King's Sustainability Task Force, Louise in tow. Publicly the family held formation. Trooping the colour saw Kamila wave beside Charles, Catherine a carriage back with Louise in perfect posture. Yet a watchful press noted where Kamila once distributed shamrocks to Irish guards, Catherine now stepped forward. Where Kamila once opened the Royal Academy summer exhibition, Louise flanked Catherine beneath soaring sculpture halls. Through it all, Charles balanced tradition and evolution like a man pacing a tightrope strung between memory and necessity. His health, ever a silent variable, forced afternoon rests that in turn forced earlier handovers of daily briefs. If the monarchy was a firm, he had effectively named his daughter-in-law and niece as rising senior partners, while retaining Kamila on the board for her institutional memory. By autumn the plan's deeper calculus emerged. William's Financial Review proposed pairing taxpayer support to half a dozen frontline royals, Charles, Kamila, William, Catherine, Anne, and in time, Lady Louise once she completes university. Andrew and other sidelined branches were explicitly excluded. Tom and Laura Parker Bowles would remain private citizens. Kamila, faced with the maths, pivoted from resistance to safeguard. She lobbied Charles to guarantee her children modest security allowances, and a private Graceland favor apartment separate from official residences. Charles, eager for détente, agreed. Where does it all leave a monarchy built on continuity? At once leaner, younger, and more fraught. Catherine, balancing chemo recovery with burgeoning clout, now fronts military parades as the Marshal of the Monarch's honor. Lady Louise, navigating freshman essays and polo practice, rehearses speeches that will place her permanently in the public eye. William, wielding spreadsheets and soft power, trims the family tree with one eye on public opinion. And Kamila, seasoned survivor of reputational tempests, recalibrates her relevance in a court that suddenly prizes generational optics over hierarchy. The stakes could not be clearer. Should the new arrangement thrive, Catherine energizing the crown, Louise proving substance behind her shy smile, the monarchy sails smoother into mid-century. Should it falter, public fatigue, rookie missteps, deepening rifts, the questions raised by Republican voices grow louder. For now, every balcony appearance, every joint engagement, every subtle shift in precedence will be read like runes by a public hungry for both tradition and renewal. And so the story marches on. A queen consort feeling the ground shift, a king hoping his gamble pays off, a young princess accepting the weight of a surname, and a future queen turning illness into impetus. Whether this royal reshuffle cements unity or cracks the facade, one truth remains. The House of Windsor has never evolved quietly, and the next chapter is already being drafted, title by title, choice by choice, heartbeat by heartbeat.